Welcome to Lesson 108B. Today we're going to be talking about how to find the area and perimeter of irregular shapes. Now the first thing we're going to talk about is we know that we can find the area of a rectangle by doing what? Well, if you answer we multiply the length times the width, you got it. Now this expression is called the formula for finding the area of a rectangle. A formula just means a way of writing out something that we do over and over again to solve a problem. Now we can use formulas to find different things. One common formula that we'll use is the area of a rectangle, which we do area equals the length times the width. We could also use a formula to find the perimeter of a rectangle. We could write the perimeter equals 2 times the length plus the width, or use the distributive property like we learned last lesson and write perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. To find the area of a square, we can do area equals side squared. That means we're going to multiply side times side. We can also know that the formula of a perimeter of a square is perimeter equals 4s. That means 4 times the side. Now, formulas are important because they help us remember how to find the area or perimeter of a shape. For example, the perimeter of a rectangle, if we know that the length is 6 and the width is 4, we know that we can multiply 2 times the length plus the width, which means we'll do 2 times 6, which is 12, and 2 times 4, which is 8. And when we add those together, we know the perimeter of this rectangle is 20. So if we were going to use the formula for the perimeter to find the perimeter of a rectangle that is 15 centimeters long and 10 centimeters wide, we can simply plug this in. We don't even have to see the rectangle. We can write P equals 2 times 15 plus 2 times 10. And when we multiply that out, 2 times 15 is 30, and 2 times 10 is 20. So we know that for this rectangle, the perimeter would be 50 centimeters. And all we had to do was use the formula. Now we can also use a formula to find the area of a rectangle. And the formula for an area of the rectangle is L times W, which stands for length times width. So here we would just do 6 times 4 is 24. Again, we don't have to see the rectangle to find the area. If we know that the length is 15 and the width is 10, we can simply do 15 times 10 because that's the formula, and we get 150. Now remember, when we find area, we have centimeters squared. We always have squared when we find the area. Now we could also find the area of a square using the formula s squared. That means we take the side, which here is 6, and we do 6 squared, which means 6 times 6, which is 36. So the area of a square that is 10 inches long, we know that all the sides are the same, so we can do 10 squared, which means 10 times 10, and we know that that is 100. And because we found the area, we would write inches squared. Now we can use our formula knowledge to help us find the area and perimeter of irregular shapes. Now by irregular shapes, I mean a shape like this. Notice that up here, there's a section missing. That means that we can't use a normal formula to find the area of this irregular shape. Because if we did, we would be finding the whole thing and we are actually missing a section. So to find the perimeter, we're going to do the same thing as we normally would and add up all the sides. Now when we add up all the sides, we see that there's 20 plus 10 is 30, plus 20 is 50, plus 40 is 90, plus 40 is 130, plus 30 is 160. So I know that my perimeter is 160 feet. Now, to find the area of this rectangle, I can't just multiply 30 times 40 or 40 times 40 like I normally would, because there's this whole section up here that's missing, and if I multiply one side times another, it would be like I was finding the area of a regular rectangle, but I'm not. So instead, I have to cut our shape into two rectangles. You can notice that I cut our shape into two rectangles by drawing a line where the little jut piece is. Then, for us to see it easier, I shaded in each different shape. Now to find the area of that shape, I'm going to multiply the sides. So if I first look at our blue shape, I can see that I'm going to need to multiply two sides together. Now I have 4 different numbers that I can work with, and I need to pick the best ones. Now here I can see that 40 represents the whole bottom line. Up here, 20 only represents this partial line. That means I am not going to use the 20. I am going to use the 40. Now to decide which one I'm going to use for my width, I need to decide, am I going to use my 40 or am I going to use the 30? Now on this side, I can see that this 40 represents from bottom all the way to the top. But my blue shape stops here. So I can't use this 40. Instead, I'm going to have to use the 30. So I'm going to multiply 40 times 30 to find the area of this part of the rectangle. And I know that 40 times 30, 4 times 3 is 12. And then I have 2 zeros. So far, in this shape, I have 1,200 feet squared. Now up here, I have 4 sides, and I need to decide what numbers to use. Now I already crossed out my 40, so I know I'm not going to use that for this little piece. There's only 2 numbers left. I've got my 10, and I've got my 20. So I'm going to multiply 20 times 10, and I know that 2 times 1 is 2, and I have 2 zeros, so I have 200 feet squared for this part of the rectangle. Now to find the area of the entire shape, I'm simply going to add the areas. So in my first rectangle, I found 1,200, and in my second rectangle, I found 200. And so I'm going to add 1,200 plus 200, and I'm going to get 1,400, remembering my label, feet squared. Now, let's say that I wanted to make a dog run for my dog to run around and play in. So I need to find the perimeter and the area of how much space my dog run is going to take up. Now, you might notice something first about the shape. Notice that there are 2 sides that are unlabeled. This side and this side. And a third, this side. So first I need to figure out what are the lengths of these sides before I can do anything, because I can't find the perimeter of the area if I don't have all my sides labeled. So if I look at my shape, I can see that this side is exactly opposite of the 15 over here. So I know that this side is going to be 15. Now I can also see that this 9 feet is exactly opposite of this 9 feet. So I can write this guy as 9 as well. Now, last, I need to figure out what this side is. Now, there's 2 ways I can do that. Number 1, it looks pretty similar to this side. But just to make sure, I'm going to look at the bottom side. The bottom side is 20. Then, the other sides that I have going across, this guy's 4, and this guy's 12. 4 plus 12 is 16. What's left from 20 is 4. So I know that this third side is 4. Now, in order to solve for my perimeter and my area, I know that to find the perimeter, I need to add up all the sides. So here I've got 20. 20 plus 9 is 29. 29 plus 4 is 33. 33 plus 15 is 48. 48 plus 12 is 60. 60 plus 15 is 75. 75 plus 4 is 79. And 79 plus 9 is 88. So I know that my perimeter of my dog run is 88 feet. Now to find the area of my shape, I need to cut it into two rectangles. So the first thing I'm going to do is here is where my jutting piece starts. So I'm going to cut my rectangle right here. So now I have this bottom shape and I have the top shape. So first let's start with the bottom shape. Now to find the area of this shape, I have to decide which of these numbers I'm going to use to find the area. Now I know the area is length times width. Now this 4 and this 4 don't represent the whole length, so I can't use either of those. So what I have left is the 20 and the 9 over here and the 9 over there, which is great because I know that the bottom is 20, the width is 20, and the length is 9. So I can do 20 times 9. 2 times 9 is 18, add a 0, and I have 180 feet squared. Now for this top shape, my numbers left are 12, 15, and 12. I know that I need to multiply length times width, so here I have 12 as the width and 15 as the length. And when I multiply 12 times 15, maybe I'll write that out, because I don't know my 15 facts. So I'm going to do 12 times 15. 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 60. I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to make Mom happy. And then I'm going to multiply again. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. And now I get to add these together. And here I get also 180 feet. So to find my total area, I need to add this top area plus this bottom area. So I'm going to add 180 plus 180. And when I add these together, I'm going to get 360 feet squared. Now, let's say our school decided to build a pool, and here was the layout that they decided on. But they wanted us to find out how big the pool was going to be. So they gave us the dimensions that you see here, but you might notice that again, some sides are missing. Our top side up here is missing, and the bottom side, or the left side over here is missing. So first, I need to decide how big these sides are. So to find my left side, I'm going to look at the right side. And the right side is 50 and 20. So 50 plus 20 is 70. So now I know that the left side is 70 feet. To find my top side, I need to look at the bottom. The bottom is 10 and 40, which means that my whole top is 50 feet. So now that I know the left and top sides, I want to be able to find the perimeter. And we remember that to find the perimeter, we are simply going to add up all the sides. So 70 plus 50 is 120. 120 plus 20 is 140. 140 plus 40 is 180. 180 plus 50 is 230. And 230 plus 10 is 240. So if we built this particular pool, the perimeter all the way around the outside would be 240 feet. Now to decide on how to find my area, the first thing I need to remember is that I have to cut this into pieces. I need to cut them into normal rectangles. Now, I could do this particular shape two ways. I could cut it here and make it a top rectangle and a bottom rectangle, or I could cut it a different way. I could cut it here, which would then give me a side rectangle and a long rectangle. It doesn't matter which way you do it because you'll get the same answer. But let's say that I decide to do it long ways. So my first shape is going to be very long and it's going to go here. And my second shape is going to be the little jutter off to the side. Now, the first thing I need to do is decide what sides am I going to multiply. Now I've got lots of numbers to choose from for the first shape. I've got 70, 10, 50, and 50. Now if we look at the first 50 up here, I know that the 50 represents all the way across, but I only want this little piece, so I can't use that 50. The 70 represents all the way up and down, which is included in my shape, so I'm going to use the 70. My 10 represents all the way across, which I want, so I'm going to use the 10. This 50 represents from the bottom to my jutter. It doesn't go all the way up, so I can't use it, so I'm not going to use my 50. So I'm going to multiply 70 times 10. I know that 7 times 10 is 700, because 7 times 10 is 70, and add a 0. Now, the next step is I'm going to multiply to find my second shape. I know that my second shape, the only things that I have left are the 40 and the 20, because I already know that the 50 represents all the way across, but I stop here. So I'm going to do 40 times 20. 4 times 2 is 8, and then I have 2 zeros. To find the total area of this irregular shape, I'm going to add together my areas. I know that those are zeros. 7 plus 8 is 15. So I have 1,500 feet squared is the total amount of area that we would get to swim around in this swimming pool if we built one.
Oh, my gosh, you're, totally, amazing. Yeah.
Great job, guys.